Nice to have back in the studio with us a friend, Sal Esquivel. He's representative there in the House of Oregon House of Representatives and represents the Medford. And where is your district now? I forget. You're over here. You're over there.
Actually, it's in Medford. Most of it.
Most of it.
A little
Medford.
bit now.
You're one of the few guys that didn't get repositioned.
Actually, I was on redistricting.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, you saved your own seat. That's good.
Actually, I didn't. I lost northeast Medford. Mm-hmm. I lost a chunk of that, and then I lost south of Stewart Avenue, all that area, and that was a very good area for me. And I've been expanded out to the west, out to Ross Lane and out through there.
Wow.
So.
And that's all done by population count, right?
Correct.
All right.
Correct. But trust me, it's political all the way.
Well, you saw what they did to Jason. They came down, went
exactly.
right around his house. They literally went around his
Jason's house.
Yeah. Anyway, Sal's with us today. We're talking about all the things going on in politics. He's been a state rep, a state senator, back to state rep. And how's it going? How do you think our state's doing?
I think our state's doing just fine. I wish the federal government had a mandate where they would have to balance their budget.
Yeah.
It would be make you sleep better at night.
Mm-hmm.
We do balance our budget. I thought Dennis Richardson did a superb job. I mean, and seeing Paul Ryan reminds me of having Dennis Richardson in the federal level.
Paul Ryan is the federal Dennis Richardson.
That's correct.
Yeah,
that's correct.
Yeah.
Dennis did a superb job because when they say the estimates of the income, the revenue forecast, it's like this. So Dennis realized that the last 18 times in a row they've been wrong. Right. So Dennis undercut that by $460 million. And by the way, when he did that, and that's the way we set the budget, so there's a $460 million gap. When he did that, the unions took out TV ads against him in the valley up there.
Big time.
About how bad he was. Well, as this gap shrinks, because the revenue shrinks, we're about, I don't know, 60, 80, $100 million difference now, so we've eaten up about $360 million of that $460 million. Wow. And so Dennis is the hero. Yeah. But what was interesting, Tina Kotek quoted in the newspaper up north that they were very, very prudent by making sure that we had a reserve.
Okay. So that's how they got around it.
Exactly.
Well, overall, I guess we're okay financially, but we do have our problems. I mean, we're not seemingly attracting businesses.
Well, we had a plan to produce 50,000 jobs in 5 years. The 50,005 plan is what we had. And I'm going to give you a couple examples that I set in on. One was the water bill, and that water bill allowed the state of Oregon to take water out of the Columbia when it was high, when the river was high, and it would store it and use it in eastern Oregon for crops. Creation of about 10,000 jobs. Well, that was taken away by the governor. He didn't like that. Then we also had a timber bill. And what the timber bill did, it didn't say we just go in and start cutting timber. It said on the state lands, the growth of the timber is 100%. That's how much it grows in a year. Right now, we're only utilizing about 55% of that 100%. So we're leaving 45%. What the bill did is it made them go to at least a minimum of 85%, which still leaves 15% growth rate. But the governor didn't like that either. That was over 2,000 jobs. So there's 12,000 jobs right there.
Wow. So what do we do?
Well, we get a new governor.
Okay.
And I think we're on the verge of maybe taking control of the House, or quite possibly we have a very good chance of being tied, or maybe even getting the driver's seat in the Senate.
Really?
There's a couple of seats over there that are up for grabs. That if we pull those seats in, we will have a 16-14 advantage, because right now we're down 16-14 in the Senate.
Now, as John Kitzhaber comes back in the office, it appears from being over on this side of the fence that he's a little bit more engaged this time than he was in his two previous terms. Is that true?
You know, I can't speak of what he was like before, but they didn't call him Dr. No for nothing, I guess, one would say. Yeah. Now, this time, this is the first time we've ever had a governor, because, you know, we couldn't find Ted. He was a great guy, but we just couldn't see Ted. He was just wasn't visible.
He's on milk cartons, wasn't he?
There you go. Yeah, we passed him around the Capitol.
On the back of milk cartons. Where's Ted?
Where's Ted?
Yeah.
And Ted didn't even visit the Democrat caucus.
Wow.
Amazing, a governor that wouldn't even visit his own party's caucus. But this governor has been in front of our caucus, the Republican caucus, on 3 occasions,
wow,
asking how we can get from A to B. So I think he did a yeoman's job in the aspect that he did a job like a governor should do a job.
Okay.
And that's all we expect from him, but to see what he did before, and of course we were on the peripheral before. You probably had more of an insight than I because your son was there. Mm-hmm. But I was on the outside, just on the city council, kind of seeing it from a distance. He went
through those 5 special sessions. He said it was just the greatest circus on earth.
Yeah,
you know,
it was unbelievable.
Yeah,
just unbelievable. But this time he was pretty cooperative because he needed us. And if you'll think back, Perry, when we were in the super minority 2 years ago, I mean, we would go out every day and they'd run over us, and then we'd limp off the field, and then the next day we'd go back out there and get run over again. Yeah. And we saw $3.6 or $3.8 billion in taxes and fees being raised by that legislative assembly, which was, we were in the super minority, and the only thing they needed us for is to have 4 of us there for a quorum, otherwise they didn't need us.
Right.
But this time we came back 30-30, and we found that the party, the Democrats, had crafted, I believe, 80 or 90 tax increases that they were going to submit because they knew they could pass them.
Right.
Because we couldn't possibly do that. Well, we ended up tying them.
Right.
And we were not empowered with saying yes, but we were empowered of saying no. And we stopped every one of those.
Every one of them. Now, this last session where you guys were even, you actually split the speakership, which was very interesting. Has this been a good experience? I mean,
it's been a very good experience. I'll tell you why. First time in 100 years that we had redistricting completed by the legislature.
Okay.
Do you realize that?
Right.
That's the congressional and the state. 1910 was the last time.
So because it just seems to me what this session showed that there could be civil discourse. Granted, had it been lopsided one way or the other, it probably would have swung to the left or the right. But you were 50-50. You held the taxes from going up. They had to give a lot of concessions. You guys governed.
We governed like you should govern. That's what the best thing that happened to Washington D.C. is if they had a tie, and it would be the best thing for America. This was the best thing for Oregon because we had a balance, and no matter what we passed was bipartisan. We had to have a Democrat or a Republican.
Because all the spending bills come from the House first.
Correct.
All right.
Correct.
So you had to take a look at it.
And Dennis Richardson was one of 3 people on.
He's a hawk.
Oh, he is. I mean, I can't rave about what a great job he did. Yeah. I mean, he was phenomenal.
You know, what about oversight committees on what we call administrative rule? You see anything down the road on taking a look at that? Because it just seems to me that a lot of these agencies can arbitrarily set their fees, their fines.
Well, I'm glad you asked that because I was looking into a bill last time and run into a brick wall of powers, you know, the separation of powers, because that belongs to the governor, that section. So I am going to have a bill in that will do one of 2 things. I haven't decided which way to do it. One is to allow the administrators of the specific, who they don't work for anyone. They don't work for the Democrats or Republicans. They just work for the committee, and have the committee people look into the rules and find out which pertains to that particular committee. Like I'm co-chair of Ag and Natural Resource, and I'm co-chair of Veterans. So have those 2 administrators look into the rules as they come down of anything that affects Ag and Natural Resource and Veterans. So, and they bring it forward, the ones that are questionable, whether they are in the spirit of the law or there's something there like a fee or something of a increase in a penalty or something like that, which they have to come to us anyway. Bring it in front of that committee and let that department explain why. I think that would be the best thing. The other option is to allow it to go out to the people and change the Constitution and allow this assembly to have a committee that oversees rules, administrative rules.
It just seems to me that
because they aren't accountable.
They aren't accountable, and we had that on the ballot several years ago, and I was amazed that that thing failed with the numbers that it is. I thought, wait a minute, this is a no-brainer. Should an agency be given free will to set its fees and fines?
No.
But apparently they can't.
Answer,
Yeah.
But they still have to come in front of us. But what they do is as soon as we leave the building, then they'll raise the fee.
Yeah.
Well, they have a year or 6 months of fee raising. Then they come up and they said, well, is it okay if we raise that fee?
Oh, okay. Afterwards.
After the fact. I
Okay.
mean, the horse is 2 ridges over, and we're closing the gate.
Okay. So what can be done just to stop or slow down the growth of government? Do we need these agencies to be this big?
Well, I think that if you look at Oregon as a whole, there's a couple of agencies I think that we could probably do away with, and we wouldn't even know they were gone. One of them's DAS. I don't believe that DAS serves much of a purpose other than a double bureaucracy, another layer of bureaucracy. Department of Ed hasn't been real shiny. I think that could get down to very few
I'm going to let me take a break. Sal Esquivel is with me today, and his home phone number. No, we're going to be right back because I also want to ask him about PERS. What are we going to do about it? It's costing us a ton of money, and we'll be right back with Representative Esquivel right after this. Representative Sal Esquivel is with us today, and first time in how many years you're running unopposed, or your district?
Well, the district itself, I think it's been 30 years or more.
Wow.
That it has always had a Republican and a Democrat.
This will be what term for you, number one?
This will be my 5th term.
Your 5th term. And Dennis Richardson's running unopposed.
That's correct.
So you guys are obviously doing a yeoman's job, and nobody wants you out of there.
Same with Wally Hicks up in Grants Pass.
There you go. Yeah, he's running unopposed. I want to come back to PERS.
Okay.
PERS
or education?
Well, hey, I'll let you figure that out. But it appeared to me what Paul Ryan is trying to do with Medicare on a national level, protecting those at a certain age and above, and those below, they're going to have to adjust. And I realized Tier 1 in the PERS system in the state of Oregon is basically over with. It's still costing us a ton of money. Can we afford this?
No.
And if we renege, what happens?
I don't know. I guess there wouldn't be a pension.
But it's the Supreme Court come after you?
Well, what
are they going to do? Throw you in
lock me
jail?
up?
Yeah, I was going to lock you up.
I don't think so.
I mean, isn't this kind of a conflict of interest because they're under PERS as well?
Very much so. But the way the Constitution is written, they have to be the ultimate say on legal matters. And my feeling was that the court themselves, if they're under the PERS system, Tier 1, which most of them are, if not all of them, then they should recuse themselves. But I'm not sure who would vet that at that point. Would it be the Idaho Supreme Court? Would we ask the Washington Supreme Court? Who would you ask? The federal Supreme Court? I mean, you'd have to ask someone else to get the final say on it.
Well, you don't want the Ninth Circuit in there.
That's for sure.
Yeah.
So we definitely wouldn't want it to go south. But I think that you have a direct conflict of interest. That's like me saying, okay, I'm going to make a determination on my retirement. And by the way, I'm not under PERS. I elected not to do that.
As an individual?
That's correct. As a representative.
As a representative.
That's correct.
Okay. Well, normally when does a representative receive PERS? After how many terms?
Oh, you sign up right away.
Oh, right away.
Yeah.
Okay.
But we have a choice, and I elected not to do that.
Let's come to education. You say it's a department that needs to be re-examined. How?
Very much so. Well, everyone's in a silo. It's like a bunch of missile silos. Like, the United States had 15 or 5,000 missile silos in the United States. And not one of them really communicated or knew what each other was doing. That's the way the Department of Ed's structured. And we need to break that down. We need to make it to where it is fruitful. The largest high school in Southern Oregon is...
I guess south.
No. Keep going.
Ashland?
No.
Well, I got north
of
Cradle Lake.
It's a trick question. Rogue Community College with its remedial classes.
Oh, really?
That's pathetic.
Really?
Because it's called social advancement. I have a bill in that I'm looking in now that's going to break the schools from socially advancing kids just because they're worried about their feelings.
Really?
And what my bill will do, and it will start if I can get it passed,
right.
But what I want this bill to do is from day like June of next year, from that day forth, the first year any student that's been out for a year or less that cannot do basic 101 class and needs remedial classes, that has a high school diploma, they need to back charge the school they came from for that remedial class. Then it goes on to the second year, third year, fourth year, and fifth year.
Wow. Wow. You think that'll see the light of day?
Well, it'll stop the social advancement. You know, and I've heard people say, well, it's embarrassing for a child not to get a diploma. Well, you know, when you're 35 years old and you can't read to your child, that's real embarrassing.
Yeah, right, right.
That's real. And we're not doing any service or helping the child at all.
Is education top heavy?
I'm not sure that it's top heavy. It is through the administration, the Department of Ed. I mean, shouldn't we be dealing with better things and worrying about, like, the Rogue River chieftains? They just passed and said, you can't do that, which I called a friend of mine in Klamath Falls, and she's a Klamath Indian. And I said, well, is there some kind of a beef there? She said, no. I said, well, what's the deal? She said, oh, I don't know, it's probably somebody that's non-Indian that's
politically correct,
and they want to change it because we don't care.
Charter schools, success?
Very.
Okay.
Very. I'm for charter schools. This one that we have down in Medford, we have a couple of them in Medford. My wife sits on the Madrone Charter School Board, and they're very successful. In fact, they're out at the old West Side School district area out there. And then this Los Gatos, or whatever it is, the one downtown, they've jumped from, let's see, I think I visited them last year, and they had 190 students, and they're up to, I don't know, 600 or 700 now.
Really?
Oh, that thing is just phenomenally growing. And what that is if they have 600 students, they have 600 different programs that's tailored for each student. And then 600 people have different programs, but they can accelerate without restrictions. See, the problem, in my opinion, in a brick and mortar school is that everyone's treated the same. And we're going to get this right until everybody gets it right. Well, the ones that get it right off the bat are sitting there for 2 or 3 days listening to the same old thing over and over again, waiting for the ones that don't quite get it off the bat, waiting for them to catch up. And it's very, very boring for some of these kids. And the other kids, they should have, maybe that isn't their forte. Maybe they should be you know, specially taught in a certain area. The thing that bothers me is the lack of respect and the lack of ability for us to train people in blue-collar jobs. We've done away with all of our shops, which is a tragedy. And we don't seem to want to couple ourselves with Rogue Community College that has a campus out in Table Rock. But yet all kids, we know that less than 18% of all kids that enter high school graduate out of college. So that means that 82% of the people we are not servicing properly. They become plumbers, they become sheet metal workers, they become electricians, Why aren't we gearing things up toward those youngsters so they can accelerate in those at an earlier age if that's their interest?
Well, the first cry you're going to hear is a budget issue, so something has to go. So shop goes, music goes.
But it's right there in Table Rock. All we have to do is, you know what it's about? It's about money. And because if they send them out to Table Rock, they're going to have to give half the money to RCC.
Well, okay, you're the representative. Solve that, will you? Let me ask you this. Immigration always is a hot topic, and I don't know, are we policing that as an issue and driving up social costs in the state?
We do not have, and immigration is different than illegal presence. They call it illegal immigration. I don't call it illegal immigration because they're not immigrating here. They're here in illegal presence.
Okay.
It's their action.
Right.
Illegal presence costs the state of Oregon, the last time I was told, was about $705 million a year. That's $1.4 billion in a biennium that we're taking right out of the budget.
Wow.
And they say, well, how could that be? Well, about 300 and some million a year is spent on English as a second language throughout the whole state. There's also the confinement of people that are here, having a legal presence here, that are confined into our prison systems. Benefits. I think we've pretty much stopped it, but I'm not real sure we've made a good, it's kind of tongue-in-cheek, I think, at times, that we have stopped people from getting services from the government, but I believe that we still allow it. No matter what you do, you have to take care of them health-wise if they go to a emergency room.
Oregon Health Plan?
Yeah, well, either that or the hospital eats it. So that's costing us. So it's nationwide, it's about $330 billion a year, I've been told. I don't know how accurate that is. It's just that I've been told that.
What few moments I have left here, Sal, I know that our governor is for the Obama health care, and he's the architect of the Oregon Health Plan. Can we afford this?
I don't think America can afford the Obama health care plan. I think that it was a tragic thing that the Supreme Court upheld it, but I understood how they did, and I knew we would strike down the commerce section. There was no doubt in my mind about that. I didn't think of the tax angle though, but you know, Wally Hicks did. He was ahead of that before they even had their decision, and I just don't think that we're going to be able to afford to adequately fund education, adequately fund services, and I just don't think we're going to be able to afford it. And the other thing is, you're telling me that I'm low income. Maybe I make $1,500 a month and I don't get the Oregon Health Plan. Okay. Now it costs me $1,200 or $1,300 a month just to live. So it leaves me with a couple $100. Now how am I going to afford a $1,000 payment? You know, you keep hearing, and I keep hearing my fellow legislators saying, well, we're going to roll this up and it's going to drop the cost of this, it's going to drop the cost of that. I ask each and every one of you and your viewers, have you ever had your insurance policy drop in price?
Oh, yeah. No.
So why tell people that? I mean, let's be honest with you. It's going to cost us more money. That's what it amounts to. It's going to cost us, the people that work, the people that have the policy, it's going to cost us more money.
Interesting. All right, last couple seconds. We're going into this election cycle. I know that a lot of it's going to be driven at the national level, and I don't know, but there seems to be an incredible trend across the country to move things back to the right. So you think there's a good chance that the R's will take over the House?
In Oregon?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we will.
By how much?
I think we'll get at least 1 or 2 seats.
1 or 2, so that'll put you up by 1 or 2 seats.
31-29, or put it up 32-28.
And on the Senate side, your snapshot view of that?
Snapshot view of that will be, I think the best, we're going to have a tie, and it'd be a miracle. We might get in first, we might be in the majority.
Okay, but there are a few seats in play.
I think we can pick up a seat, maybe 2, but I think we can pick up a seat.
Do you think the state will have a tendency to vote strong for Romney, even though it'll probably end up being an Obama state? Do you think Romney will show up well?
Well, if Obama's going to win this state, okay. There's no doubt in my mind about it. What disturbs me is the lack of voting on the GOP part. If we had, in a statistical thing came up the other day, it said if we had 8 people that voted per precinct in the state of Oregon Republican, we'd win every statewide office.
I'll reserve my comments on that one, being a former chairman.
So nice today.
Yeah, that's today. Hey, thanks, and keep up the good work. And I know that you're involved in all these campaigns. Appreciate you guys putting in the time, doing what you do up there. Keep up the good fight, and we'll get you back maybe before the actual election day, and certainly during the session.
It'd be fun. Are you going to do anything election night?
Oh, yeah.
That'd be fun, too.
Okay, we'll let you know.
Thanks.
All right, thank you. All right, we'll see you next time on Focus Today.